Hey everyone, welcome on to Branded. Today we're going beyond the logo. I really have been diving into more and more concepts of branding, of website building, and all of these things that I think as business owners, sometimes we think are sort of extras, the little frills, the little decoration, the cherry on top of the cake. But what I want to really talk about today is why your brand and branding in general is a strategy. It's so much more than just a great style, a great vibe, right? That is part of it, but it really goes so much deeper than that. And when you start to focus on your branding and your marketing and all of these assets that are sort of client facing, and you start to really pay attention to the strategic elements of it, not just, oh, does it look pretty? There's something really magical that happens in your business. You feel more connected to it. And guess what happens with everybody else? They also feel more connected to it. So, we are going beyond the logo today. We're talking about why branding is a strategy and not just a style, because it really is so much more than a pretty logo. Instead of treating your brand like some decoration that's just sort of nice to have, let's treat it as a strategy, as an actual intention, something that we do in our business to grow our business, right? So today we're going to break down why branding is more about the feeling and a little bit less about the features. And I'm going to do this by giving you guys a little bit of a look inside of the journey that Airbnb took with their brand. I thought this was really interesting when I came across this recently, and I was like, wow, this is such a great kind of metaphor for the type of content that I share with you guys, and who doesn't know what Airbnb is. So, right? I figured this was a perfect pairing for this episode. And what we're going to talk about is how Airbnb went from just another booking site, right? Like that's essentially what it is. But they went from just another booking site to a global brand that helps people feel like they're at home, like anywhere in the world, which is incredible. Like that's an incredible thing to achieve. And so much of that was done through very strategic branding. And then towards the end of this, I'm going to give you guys three simple ways that you can make your own brand more impactful. So let's get into it. All right. So the Airbnb story, let's call it. Let's start with the problem where Airbnb was before they blew up and, everybody and their mother knew exactly who they were. And you only don't know Airbnb, you maybe live under a rock or something, right? So the problem before was that they had a really beautiful looking brand, but there perhaps was a little bit of like their purpose, their mission. Why is this new booking site a place that I should go, right? What differentiates them? There really wasn't a whole lot of that in the beginning. It was more just like, okay, well, here's some really stunning imagery. Here's some great photos. Here's some unique places to stay. But the problem was that their messaging was like all geared towards just the features of their business, as in like rent a room, book your stay really cheap. Like these are features which are great, but when it comes down to it, people are going to a booking site and they already expect those things. So when you say rent a room, so easy, right? One click, book your space, stay cheap here. Like people already want those things and they sort of are already expecting them. So those features really just fall flat and they end up being like, okay, cool, whatever. Like that, how's that any different than booking.com or price? What is it? Priceline? I don't know. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Airbnb. And so the problem was that their messaging was really focusing on the features versus really talking about the feeling of their brand. And it felt a lot more transactional. It was more like an alternative option to staying in a hotel. And there wasn't a whole lot that necessarily set them apart in the marketplace, like in that sort of space, in that industry. So the shift that happened for Airbnb was They went from talking about all of these features, which are sort of like, duh, these are features you should have as a booking site. Instead of focusing on that, they started focusing on the feeling of what it's like to stay at an Airbnb property, right? Like that's a whole different conversation when you approach it that way. And what Airbnb realized was that, people aren't really just looking for a place to sleep. They want to feel connected to a place or to, the nature around them or to the culture that they are in. They want to experience a new place just like a local would, right? They have all of these experiences now built into the app. So it's like, yeah, you can book a place to stay, right? You have a place to rest your head at night. But why are you really coming here? You're not leaving your life to take a vacation to just sleep in a spot that is good enough to sleep in, right? You're going to have an experience, have an adventure, do something new or different, or maybe something that's been like on your bucket list forever, right? So Airbnb started talking about the feeling of the experience when you stay with them versus the features that people are already expecting from them. They changed their messaging from book a room to belong anywhere. Like that's such a huge shift. People want to belong. Like at our core, humans want to feel like they belong somewhere. And to have that shift in messaging where it's like, yeah, you can book a room, but how about even better when you book this room, it's going to feel like you're home away from home. And so by instead of like just showing these listings, they started sharing host experiences. They start sharing guest experiences and stories. They start interjecting these local experiences where you can like take a cooking class when you're in Italy or when you're in Florida, right? Like it doesn't matter where you are. All of these experiences are now being offered to you from their platform because of the fact that they are talking about the feeling that is evoked when you choose their booking platform. They're giving you all of these other opportunities to create experiences aside from a great place to stay. So they really hit on the emotional side of travel. So smart, right? And so this shift, it helped people feel something. It helped them like feel really connected to their messaging as if it was just sort of like something that was always there, like, oh, yeah, I love Airbnb. I'd stay there. It's almost synonymous with when people go on a vacation or stay somewhere. I would say, at least in the circle of people I speak to, it is probably about 80% of the time that the people that I know that take vacations and travel, or maybe it's for work or whatever, they prefer and almost always book through Airbnb and stay at an Airbnb property versus staying at a hotel. I mean, it really has shifted how, you know, like they're part of this global community now and they're creating this space and hospitality that quite honestly really wasn't there before. And so that's what this impact does by shifting from features to feelings. It became a brand that like really moved people in a very authentic way. And they went from being just like a small rental booking, startup to one of the biggest hospitality brands in the world. And their brand is not just homes, right? It's about connections, it's about adventure, it's about belonging. So when you think of Airbnb, it's not always like, oh, I just need to book a place to stay. Sometimes you're like, let me go see what kind of fun, cool, weird stuff they have on their app as like experiences or funky places to stay. And then maybe it gives me some fun ideas to like start booking my trip. So there's so many more avenues and like opportunities that they're creating for this sense of belonging and connectedness. So I felt like this was a fabulous example for what we're talking about, going beyond the logo and really focusing on why your brand is an intentional strategy and not just something cute, even though you're cute. So let's talk about 3 ways that we can bring feeling into your brand? And these are things to just ponder on, right? You can do a little journaling maybe if you're someone that likes to do that. You can sit and meditate about it. You can just listen to this and think, I don't want to do this right now. I'm too busy. I'll come back to this later. All of those are okay things. But the whole point of these conversations are to get you thinking. So, 3 ways that you can bring feeling into your brand. And I mean, you can legitimately apply these like today. You can start thinking about these things. There's ways to shift from talking about just your features to integrating the feeling of your brand and creating a brand that like really sticks with people. Not only do they see it, but they remember it. That's huge, right? That's how then conversion happens if it doesn't happen immediately. So the first way, I've got 3 here. Define the emotion you want people to feel. And if you're not really sure about this, think about what you do. So think about what you do and then think beyond that statement, right? So what do you want people to feel when they are interacting with your brand? And that's what I mean by think beyond. So what you do, right, is like here, it's right in front of you. But thinking beyond that is now, let's say you and your client have wrapped up the project, you're done, the program has ended, whatever it is that you offer. How are they feeling about that interaction, about that, engagement they had with your brand? That's thinking beyond. So, do you want them to feel empowered, inspired, safe, excited to move forward and take action? What's that sort of sizzle word that you really want people to feel after they're working with you, while they're working with you, when they engage with your brand, whether that's on social media, whether that's on your website, whether that's in person, right? Your brand literally translates through all of it. And we'll get to that in a minute. But think about, how is it that you're expecting people to feel? And obviously, people are going to feel the way they're going to feel, right? But you can set an intention by creating from a place of intention. So with my brand specifically, I want people to feel empowered as a business owner. I want them to feel supported as someone who decided to hire me to help inside of their business. I mean, your business is your baby. It's something so very personal and intimate to you that I want my clients to feel fully supported and at ease, that they know when I get into their back office, when I'm getting into their websites, when I'm starting to pick apart all of these parts of their business, they trust that I can put it back together again, and in a way that is a full reflection of where they're headed with their business and the things that they want to achieve, right? So that's sort of me thinking beyond the brand. That's so much more than being like, oh yeah, I do website design work. Okay, yeah, but what am I actually doing? How am I actually making people feel by doing website design, right? So a good example, that's not my business, is Nike, right? Nike is not just like about shoes or athletic wear. It's about feeling unstoppable. Like that's always been their thing, right? You're unstoppable. Just do it. Like there is literally nothing stopping you except you. And so that's sort of Nike's brand, right? And that's them thinking beyond the shoes and the apparel and the accessories and all the things, because just like Airbnb, people already expect those things. They already expect those features. What are you really doing? You're helping people feel unstoppable. So think about that sort of example, and then what's that version for yourself? So that's the first way that you can start to bring feeling into your brand, is to kind of use that example of Nike where, it's not about the shoes, it's about feeling unstoppable. What's the version of your business that does that, right? It's not going to be the same words, it's not going to be the same feelings, but what is that version for you? The second way that you can bring feeling into your brand is by telling stories and not just the benefits. Benefits are great, but tell them in a way that helps people feel connected to why that benefit matters, right? Why is that benefit important? Why is it good? People don't connect with these sort of bullet point, okay, you can drop 5 pounds, get better sleep, and I don't know, lose 10 inches off your waistline. Yes, people want that, but that's not going to help them feel connected to the fact that someone's like, I lost 5 pounds, I dropped 10 inches on my waist, and I get better sleep. Now I actually have the energy to cook healthy dinners, which help support the journey that I'm on. Now I have the energy to go for the walks that help support the journey I'm already on, right? So those are sort of the benefit of the benefit. And we're going even further because we're talking about the story of it, the person behind it, the experience of it. So connect with the stories. And instead of saying like, I help people lose weight, right? Instead of saying that, you share a transformational story from a client who gained confidence and some personal growth from the work you did together, right? Like there's a little bit of a difference because it's like you're peeling back the onion and you're telling the truth of it rather than just saying, this is what I do. It's like, okay, well, this is what you do, but this is how you actually make an impact. The doing of this thing creates this ripple effect of all of these other really beautiful things. Talk about those things because people are already expecting the features, just like with Airbnb. They expect to be able to lose weight when they pay money to work with a weight loss coach. So, duh, right? What else? What's the actual impact? Outside of the weight loss, what's the real impact? What's the real story here? Why should people choose your services, your programs, your products? So think about that Airbnb shift and how you can show what your brand feels like through some real experiences. Go through the Rolodex of your mind, like some past client experiences, maybe your very own experiences. If you don't have enough client experiences like social proof or, testimonials or things like that, and that's totally okay. We all start with one client, but we all have to start somewhere, and waiting to get, a library of 20 or so testimonials before you start sharing proof of your work and real experiences and stories of why working with you is the thing that people should do. Don't wait. Like start now, start with your own experience if you don't have the proof of work just yet. Because just like that Airbnb shift, stop talking about the features people already expect from you. Talk about the feelings that they get once those features are met, once those features are purchased, right? The third thing that we're going to talk about when it comes to swapping, features for feeling is making all of your touch points reflect that emotion that you're wanting to get across to people. So I was saying a moment ago how, I do the website work, excuse me, I do the website work, but really my actual goal, the feeling that I'm evoking in my brand is a feeling of ease, trust, support, connectedness, education, right? These are all sort of feelings and experiences that I know because I can look back at my proof of work. I can look back at all my, text history with my clients, and I can see there's proof that they are feeling all of these things because they're quite literally telling me. Thank you so much. This is beautiful. It absolutely reflects the vision that I had, all of these things. So bring in those real experiences and share them in all of these different places, because your brand isn't just on your socials. Your brand isn't just on your website. It isn't just your logo. It's not just the words, the colors, the emails. It's also the way you respond to DMs. It's how you show up in person, right? Your brand it doesn't have to be so rigid that you're always your brand, but if you do it in a way that is a true reflection of something that you can be the boss of sustainably for years and years to come, it has to sort of be a little bit of a reflection of you. Because let's be honest, like nobody wants to wake up and put on a mask in order to be the thing that they've created. At least that's not how I'm doing it, and that's not what I desire. I want my brand to be a reflection of me. And honestly, I showed up today with no makeup. My hair is I washed it yesterday. But this is the real me. I don't wash my hair every day. I don't wear makeup every single day. And I've decided that when I'm ready to jump onto a podcast, share some really powerful information, it doesn't really matter what I look like. Because as Candace Denise said at a recent event that I just attended for the Wedding Industry Professionals Association that I'm a part of here in Houston, she was our speaker, and she was saying at the event that her knowledge, it doesn't matter what she looks like, what time of day it is, what day of the week it is, whether she just got out of the gym, whether she's at the grocery store, whether she's dressed to the nines looking gorgeous. Her knowledge will never be affected by the way she looks. It's always there and it's always available to be shared, to be tapped into. And honestly, it was sort of like the thing I needed to hear because I've been coming onto this podcast wearing makeup every time because I'm like, it's evergreen. It's going to be out there forever. But I don't wear makeup every day. And I'm not really a makeup person. So like, here's just me. And that's the brand. And so when you have your brand reflect through all of these different touch points, showing up live, being in person at an event, having a one-on-one conversation with someone, being in the DMs, talking to somebody, your cadence, your tone, all of the sort of words that you tend to use, do they also show up in your social media post? Are they showing up in your email newsletters that you're sending out? Is that tone of voice and that vibe also on your website? Because if you have all of these touch points like this, you essentially you create this sort of calm and ease because people get it. Like they feel connected. They see the dots being connected. And so there isn't this sense of confusion. And a good question to ask yourself is, what are these statements, like these feelings that you want your brand to evoke? So let's say that some of the feelings you want your brand to evoke are one of calm and ease, which those are pretty much words I would use, right? I've already said ease, I know for sure, because I want it to feel easy for them. I don't want it to feel hard and complicated and crunchy and just like, ugh. I want it to feel easy. So if calm and ease are your feeling words, does your website or your socials feel simple and inviting? Or is it cluttered and overwhelming? Because, right, those are two very different things. Cluttered and overwhelming does not lead to a feeling of calm and ease, but simple and inviting very well could. So think about the feeling first that you want your brand to be really connecting with the clients. Then figure out a way to convey that by telling stories of real experiences, whether they're yours or they're your clients. And then lastly, make sure that it's cohesive through all of your touch points. Because if you're starting to do it one way over here and then you're still doing it another way over here, that's where you get this really big disconnect and people start getting really confused about what it is you do and who you are. And that's not what you want, right? So Airbnb, they made their site warm and personal and a little more of like human, have the human touch on it. And it matched that new messaging that they have, belong anywhere, right? So do the same with your brand. Create that feeling, decide what those feelings are instead of the features, tell them in a really real and organic way, by utilizing some great experiences that are yours or your clients, and then make it relatable across all of your touch points. So just remember that your brand it's not just about looking good. Looking good's part of it, but it's not just about looking good. It's about making people feel something when they connect with your brand. Airbnb, they didn't take off because of the pretty pictures, right? They succeeded because they made people feel like they could belong anywhere. They made people want to use their booking site. And you can do the same by defining the emotion behind your brand, telling stories instead of listing benefits, and making all of your touch points reinforce that feeling. So decide for yourself, what's a small shift that you could do today to bring more of that emotion and feeling into your brand? Think about it. And if you want, you can DM me on Instagram. It's just at Social Jane Media. I would love to hear. I'd love to see what you are thinking in the direction that you're looking to go. And of course, if you know any other business owners that need to hear this message, share this episode, because that's what we're here for. A little bit of education, a little bit of insight, a little bit of support. You get it all, right? I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to Branded, the podcast. Please rate and review. And for more information, visit socialjanemedia.com. I'll see you soon.